2, 1. We're back. This has been aptly retitled the Boomer Stream with your host, Mitch Breitweiser, and two very, very special guests, Art Thibert, who has killed his internet.
I think it was Ethan's bots, man. They came in. They didn't want us talking about all this cool stuff.
I heard that Ethan has a bot army at his beck and call. Yeah, so clearly, I think we're all in with the Russians. I think. What do you think? Ben Henderson of Cautionary Comics is with us now.
Hey, everybody, how you doing? I think it's just Ethan. I think Ethan's more powerful than the Russians. People don't even know it.
Wow, more powerful than the Russians.
You read all this stuff, man. He's got some mojo, with his bot army. That's pretty amazing.
Do you think Ethan then will have influence in the midterm elections? Should we be worried?
Listen, I think he's at the UN. I think he's the guy behind the guy. There's a bunch of frogs. There's something up with this frog group. Everybody's calling him Caesar. He's got a lot going on, that guy.
You know what, Ben? That yellow room, that could very definitely be in the Senate. That could be a room there in the Senate building. Yes.
He lives near New York, somewhere around there. It's a quick trip for him. I'm piecing this all together. I also think that Mitch Breitweiser is the real Red Rooster. He goes out at night. This is all meta, right? He's making the character to give himself cover so he can go out at night and be Red Rooster. There's evidence of Red Rooster throughout history. I'm piecing this all together, too. I'm writing a book.
You're figuring me out. I think you've been hacking my computer systems, Ben.
I'm trying. I got a lot going on too, but you guys got to figure it out.
Well, I know a little bit about what you have going on, and it's really cool.
Thanks, man.
I don't want to spoil too much, but let's spoil Art Thibert and sell some black and white comic books. Art, let's pick it right back up. I was going to ask you.
Okay.
Why MI6 or MI10? Why not CIA? Why did you go with our former enemies, the Crown and the British people?
Yeah, but they haven't been our enemies in years and years and years. I mean, they were our allies in the wars and stuff.
Well,
the Queen looks a little shifty.
She does look a little shifty.
I like that Mitch is still like he's got a mat on for the early colonial settlers. Like, I haven't got over that yet.
Well, I wasn't even
those
here.
Damn Brits.
My ancestors were mostly German, so we didn't come here till the 1880s. So it doesn't really make a difference to me. I'm just horsing around, really.
Yeah, no. I'm just to answer your question in serious. I just love James Bond. I'm just a big Bond fan. So I just wanted to do a different take on Bond, and I think by making him more of a robot fighter, I think it's a unique take on the James Bond idea. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Okay, well that's it. You heard it there. Questions are answered. This is why Reed Black is not an American hero.
Yeah. I wanted to make
it the Red Rooster. The Red Rooster is an American hero.
Yeah, I just wanted to make it international too. So the story takes place in China, and so Whitney Sung is there. She's half American, she's half Chinese. So I just wanted to make it very, very international. So the whole story is going even if we're fortunate enough to do more issues and more stories. They go all over the place, so there may be an adventure in America even, Mitch. They may come to America.
Okay. What does America look like in 2040 in the Art Thibert world?
Oh, I'm sure robots are running amok just like the rest of the world in the black and white universe.
So let's talk about that, because we get these vivid descriptions of what in Cyberfrog, what the world looks like post alien wasp invasion. What does the world look? We've heard a lot about your characters, but I haven't really heard too much. Maybe I've missed it, but I haven't heard too much about what the world is like. What have the robots done? What does this 2040 world look like? Is it a hellscape? Is it post-apocalyptic? Is it what's the surroundings? Give us the backdrop.
It's hopeful. It's still a hopeful future, and I think the mindset is similar to today. It's just that it's like if you think about there's a villain. I don't want to give too much of the villain stuff away, but there's kind of an Apple company. There's a company called Phoenix World, and they're electronics, robotics, things like that. So he's basically infiltrated society in a way that seems peaceful. It seems like it's good. This technology's good. It's hopeful. It's all these things. But what you're going to find out in the story is that some of the stuff that he's been bringing into the world may not be on the up and up. And so that's kind of the espionage, and that's kind of some of the things that Black and White reveal as the story goes on. So this guy that the world's in love with may not be, you know, a good guy.
What do you think, Ben Henderson of Cautionary Comics?
I think it sounds awesome. I think, but, you know, I mean, I had Black and White back in the day too, so I'm super excited about all these revivals, everything coming back up. But I love all the futurism. You know, any look. I have stories coming up that takes place in the far-flung future as well on Mars. So, you know, I love different interpretations of that, and gonna be awesome. Can't wait.
All right. So you were one of the 700 some odd thousand customers for Black and White.
Oh yeah.
Before it was remastered. And so Art, the remaster. So how long have you been at this? Is this something you've been wanting to do for a long time? Like what was the impetus for remastering your historic Black and White comic book from, when was this published? 94?
Yeah, 94. Yeah. Good call.
Great year.
It was a good year for the T-Bears here. It was definitely a good year. Because also it's the same year that my cable series for Marvel came out.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I remember, yeah.
Yeah, so, gosh, I just forgot the question.
What was the impetus for remastering this?
Yeah, well, yeah, like 94 was, you know, we did it in 94. The industry was still huge. It was, I mean, we sold, like you said, crazy amounts of books. And then within the next year, so I kind of took off the year. I mean, I still did work, but I took off a year to get at least 3 issues of, well, it wasn't a complete year, but to get 3 issues of Black and White in the can before we resolicited the ongoing. So I thought, like, you know, this time I would prepare a little bit better, wouldn't work on the fly as much as I did with the original series. So I would prepare a little bit better. And so while in that year that we were preparing, sales were going down monthly. And so I have a friend, Nick Barucci, who runs Dynamite and Dynamic Forces, and he kept me up on the numbers. And then by the time we released issue 1 of Black and White, the ongoing, the numbers had just diminished. I mean, I think we did, gosh, it was like 250,000 sales for issue 1 of Black and White, Codename, because we called it Codename. That was the ongoing. But with what everybody was charging and what the industry was at the time, we still couldn't make ends meet, because, you know, film output was like $100. Lettering they were charging, you know, $90. You know, I mean, everybody, like $300 to ink a page. You know, it was expensive to do a book, but there was when the money was there, it was no problem. And so people weren't adjusting their rates quickly enough to accommodate the crash. And so Oli Optics, everybody ended up within 2-3 months had to adjust, or they weren't going to, you know, work anymore. So the adjustment period happened quickly. But you know how this industry is, you guys. It's hand to mouth. Like, if we don't have product out there, you know, in a month, 2 months, we can have some financial hardship. So I just couldn't put my family through that. So the year I worked on that series, I ended up shelving it and then going back to Marvel with my tail between my legs after the big Image, you know, hoopla and everything. And believe me, Bob Harris and Marvel put me through the crapper, man. I did every crappy book from Marvel for the first 3 or 4 months until I started working with the Thibert brothers on X-Men. But yeah, it was really hard. And so all that time, the dream never went away. I'm sure, like Mitch, if tomorrow you couldn't do another Red Rooster, I don't think that dream would go away. I think it would stay with you until you could find an avenue to bring it back. And so 25 years later, here we are talking about it, and with this new platform that you and Zach, your boy, and Ethan have perfected, we're able to bring it back in a way that makes sense, in a way that we could actually make enough money to survive. You know, I mean, that's the big thing too, where we don't have to have day jobs, you know, and do other things to augment our earnings. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's perfected, and I lay no claim to perfecting anything.
Yeah.
But everything is a work in progress. But we do have a great audience here with 50 people watching and climbing to listen to the Boomer Stream with Art Thibert. Sorry to rag on you there a little bit, Art, but I like your passion. I agree with you. It never really goes away. So this stuff like the Red Rooster and the Futurist books in particular, and then some other titles that I'll reveal over time, they've been eating at me for years and years, some of them for like over a decade. And I've just been sort of waiting for the right moment. The right moment to.
It was one of my first assignments at Duke Ellington School of the Arts in high school.
Oh wow!
First little essay of it. Yeah, I got a scholarship for writing for it. And
so you went to an art high school?
I did. Yeah, I did. Duke Ellington School of the Arts in D.C. We did regular academics in the day, and then writing and art and photography and sculpture and theater and stuff at night. And,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I tried my hand at art like you guys, you know, but I, realized quickly that was not my forte. Neither was dance. Art, guys, that was not my bag. But acting and writing, that was my.
I could see you doing some acting, Ben Hennessy. I could see that very much.
I did, and a little bit of guitar. That was my area. But yeah, no, these things, like Art said, they stick with you forever. You know, I've written my stuff, like I said, since the 90s, and even what I'm writing now were originally movies in the 90s.
Yeah. Oh, I know some about some of your other projects, and they're really exciting and really cool. So, yeah, and it is true. We all have the bug. We've all been bitten by the bug.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got bitten by the bug in the early 90s, and was just like around the image boom, because when all the Art and all of his friends inspired me.
Me too.
As a junior high and high school student. Yeah.
Right.
And I got bit. It was just like, well, I was going to draw anyway. I was already into comic books, and I'd already kind of made up my mind that, hey, I'm going to be a comic book artist, because I love to write stories and draw as well. And I had an aptitude for drawing for some reason.
Awesome.
Lucky gift. So, or is it a curse? I don't know. So it depends on which side of the bed
it seems like a gift from where I'm sitting, Mitch.
It depends on which side of bed I get out in the morning. But yeah, bitten by the bug back then, and it's just this desire to draw for an audience, but not only draw, Wolverine or Captain America or whatever the case may be, but to like create my own content and get it out there in the world. That was the thing I could never get out of my system. It was like, I've got something to share with the world, and I've got to find an avenue to do it. And so it's just been beaten down every door possible ever since. So that's a brief run up on my story. But art has been you're kind of a different way. You hit the high, and now you're the high of the 90s image boom, and then now you're circling all the way back. Do you have a future for black and white, or do you have other content that you've been hiding from us all and you're going to share later?
Yeah, I have all the above. I mean, that's why, gosh, I'm hoping with every part of my body that we can keep this template going, and that we can build this audience, and that people are going to stay here and keep following, not just the here and now, but the future projects that we have, because we just broke 30K last night. And so I'm actually, for the first time in a long time, very hopeful for myself, like that this will work, this can work. And so I'm getting to a point where I'm starting to dream beyond this campaign, where I can actually free my brain in a way that I can entertain these thoughts of moving past, and create new projects and things. So my partner, Taylor Grosso, and myself, she's my writing partner, We are definitely going to do, we'll just announce it right now, there will be a volume 2 of Black and White. So the follow-up story, we will Indiegogo it, and we will do this. Hopefully, you know, a little bit better, like Mitch and I were talking off stream, you know, kind of like learn from the mistakes, kind of streamline the campaigns, you know, be more concise with our goals and things like that. Because I admit, going into this, it was just trial by error. It was a lot of trying to figure out things on the fly. I'm not a big planner either. I'm not like I guess what do you guys call it? Like 3D chess? I'm not that guy. I'm like, it's in front of me, I deal with it. It's in front of me, I deal with it. I think it's just 35 years of just working in the comics industry, and it can be so overwhelming. So I always just say, I just put my head down, keep it aimed at the drawing board, and just work as fast as I can. So that's always been my thing. But now with these Indiegogo campaigns and things, you have to think multifaceted. There's so many different things, and we're wearing so many different hats as well. So there's so many different disciplines and things that we're learning on the fly. And I don't know, whoever's listening, we are so outside of our box in most of this stuff, because most of his career has been working for companies that market and promote and do all those things for him. And so I have too. So we're not used to being the voice for our own product or for ourselves. It's usually a company that does that. You know, like if you're working on like, what do you say, like Winter Soldier or Captain America, you have Marvel doing those things a lot of the times for you. And this is totally different. This is you saying, hey, Red Rooster, the futurists, you know, those things. If you don't speak out, you don't say these things, then no one's going to know about it, because there's no Marvel or DC, Warner Brothers or Disney.
Yeah. I don't think it can necessarily, we are having to learn new skills. I've certainly been put through the wash, so to speak. I'm not a promoter guy, but I got to do what I got to do to get the word out and to create what needs to be created to sustain what we're doing here. So I think Ben is actually maybe a better delegator, and I'm actually learning a little bit from Ben Henderson, who I think has his fingers in a few other pies and different businesses throughout his life. And you know, you gotta find the right people. You gotta find the right people that can help support what we're doing. But in order to get to that point, we have to build it, right? So it's like you build it, and then they will come. So then the customers will come, but also the people you need to support what you're doing to sustain it.
Yes.
What do you think, Ben? What's the road forward? We lose Ben?
Yeah, I agree. Well, you know, Richard says this a lot, and I think, you know, for new writers ask me questions, a new artist, you know, hey, how can we do this? You know, and I, like Art said, you know, on the Indiegogo, I'm still figuring it out too. You know, I'm not naturally a YouTube personality or ever really thought that I'd want to be doing this, but a general rule of thumb, and I've heard Richard say it, is that A people surround themselves with A people, B people hire C people, players, right? If you look at it that way. So you have to surround yourself with people that are better than you in different areas. It's like forming Voltron, right? If you're the Black Lion, you need other people to help you stand and help you do things that you can't do, or why have a team?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and everything, but you know, it's a rare person that can do all that. You know, it takes wisdom to say, you know what, I don't know, you know, everything, what's going on. I know what I'm really, really good at. And then to bring other people on to help you in the other areas. You know, I have a buddy of mine who's been with me for years and years, and he's now he's an MBA from an Ivy League school. He's the CEO of all my businesses. You know, that's not my bag. It's not my forte, you know, but I start these different endeavors and small businesses, which Cautionary Comics is just, you know, one of them, and bring on people that I want to work with. You know, that's pretty much it.
Very, very smart. Definitely looking for the right people, and I've found some.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll talk more about that hopefully in the days and weeks ahead. Antoine Dennison, thank you for $5. Guys, says Antoine, I believe the space has long-term potential. If you Comicsgate ambassadors curate the material you promote and develop. So Comicsgate ambassadors, I think he means people in the chat and the people that are heavily investing in these in this what would you call it? I think that's what he means by that. But certainly we've been helped extraordinarily by people that have sort of just said, hey, I believe in what these guys are doing. I want new products, and I think this content is fantastic, and this community is a lot of fun. And so just really cool individuals have spoken up and said, hey, this is important. And these books are important, and what these creators are doing is important, and I believe in it. And thank you to every single one of those individuals, because you've really helped make this a special year. And I think next year is going to be even better thanks to you all.
I agree.
Yes. Thank you, Antoine, for that. Very important. Yeah, to think about all the people that have popped up and said, hey, this is cool, and I believe in it. Thank you all. So
the best way I can describe this, or it feels like to me, I've done different albums, right? Record production. I owned My Alter Ego Production years ago, like My Alter Ego Production, and we put out some albums on iTunes. But it all feels like, and Chuck Dixon has said this, like we're all garage bands, or local underground bands, and you have your favorite band, and those bands collaborate and get together and jam, and you have some great fun stuff that's now coming out, indie stuff. And it's not like, we created the indie market by any stretch. There's a new revitalization, right, from new creators and established pros like you two coming together to jam. And that's what the customer base. But if you don't have that customer base, right, like you said, Mitch, it's all about the supporters. It's just a bunch of guys jamming in their garage.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is, I mean, that's what I noticed, and what some of this, you're not going to get this from the big comic book news websites where they say, oh, the books are great, oh, the creators are awesome, oh, the industry is wonderful. But there are some voices that popped up that were giving voice to some concerns that people have been sharing with me privately for a few years. But then you start to see, well, it's not just my friends, it's not just the people that are talking to me privately. It's a large set of customers that feel like they're being underserved, or they're not getting exactly what they want, and then to see some things happen on the like insider people, calling those people horrible names or treating them like garbage. It's like, wow. So not only is there's a movement of underserved customers, but that want something different and would like to, be served, but also they want to be treated right.
Right.
And so I can do both of those things. And so here we are. I think that's what I noticed. And I don't know if I really said the speaking up about it, other than I took some actions. I'm not addressing these things necessarily directly. I'm just saying, hey, if there's customers out there that want something different, I have something different, and I'm willing to treat you all with respect and try to listen to your concerns.
Yeah.
And the great thing about the way we're bringing this to people is that we can move on a dime. Like, we can adjust our business models. We can adjust even our storytelling to fit the needs of the people, because we're dealing with them directly. Marvel Comics, they don't do it anymore. It's so corporate. But in the early days, because I am old and I remember early Marvel, they always stayed in the publisher row. They always stayed in the kind of the seedier side of New York City. And the idea was always they wanted to be in the trenches. They always wanted to stay hungry. They always wanted to keep their finger on the pulse of what people wanted. So they were adjusting and they were changing as the books were going. And they were listening to people, and they were making books that people wanted. And that's why they succeeded. They built a whole universe. It worked. And later they just became corporate. The mandates are on high. It's less dealing with people directly. There's suits making decisions, creative decisions. I know DC is going in that direction as well. We just aren't that. We are the guys that are dealing with our fan base directly, and we're able to listen to them and to create content that they specifically want. Because if all of a sudden one of our books just started tanking, we don't have deep pockets not to do that, right? It just doesn't make any sense. So if we're making product that people don't want, then we're going to have to adjust, or we're going to go out of business. We don't have Marvel, like Marvel has Disney, or DC has Warner Brothers. We don't have parent companies. We don't have investors like that. We don't have that. So we have to do this. It's just, and I think it's a better business model as well, because we are, like you said, Mitch, we are serving them directly. There's no BS. There's no middleman. There's no, suits making these decisions. It's us.
Right.
Art Thibert is the suit. We all take orders from Art Thibert.
You know what, Mitch? Get back to work.
I really never have, for my stories or even movies, we got signed by Shoreline Entertainment, that made by the producer Morris Ruskin, who did Glengarry Glen Ross years ago. He was working with me on some different movies we were doing, and even then I wanted to keep my film projects small. I never really had the desire to work with the big Warner Brothers or anything, because I feel like when you have those big organizations that like they say a camel is a horse drawn by committee, a bunch of people getting together to make it. I don't want to make camels, I want to make my horses the way I want to create it, and not saying I don't want input, but I want to be the final arbiter of that input into my universe. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
not to say that you don't want big success either, because you do, because then you can reach a bigger audience, but to the point where you're disconnected from the audience, that's when it gets bad.
Right, exactly, right. And the best creator, the best music, right? Let's forget comics or movie, the best music. They didn't go to a corporation first and say, Bowie didn't go up and say, hey man, should I do this? Should I make Space Oddity, Oddity, Ziggy Stardust? Hey man, these were just creations. And I think when you have too many fingers in that, it's like butterfly wings, right? It won't take off the ground. At least that's the way I view it. And I think we're all doing that now. Doing our own thing exactly the way we want.
Well, because when you get a committee involved, then it's like, well, they ask, what do people want, right? But if you have an individual who's just creating, he or she can say, well, I know what I can deliver, and I know what's not being done, and I want to be different. So in the case of David Bowie, he had a certain set of talents, a wide set of talents, and he knew what he could do. And then he looked at like what's not being done, and then and what he thought people might crave and what might stand out amongst everything else. And he gave us that. And it was just like, it made it magical.
I agree.
So no one else can do the Red Rooster. That's just me. I'm the only one that could deliver that product.
And you have faith, just like I do, that there's enough people out there that love that kind of material. My stuff. I believe there's enough people like us that grew up in the 80s, that were reading black and white in the 90s, that want to enjoy my kind of stories that were formed in that era. And I have faith in that. Now, maybe I'm wrong. It won't be a huge audience, but you know what? I'm willing to gamble. And even if it's a small audience, that's rocking. That's fun.
I don't think it will be a small audience. I think there's something really cool happening here. I think there's going to be a bigger audience, and it may not be necessarily in comic books, but I think people. I'm just let me know when I can pre-order my Ravage tickets to the theater. I want to see when it's on the big screen. I'm going to be camping out to get.
I'm waiting.
Will I get to go to the premiere? I want to go to the premiere, Ben.
Absolutely, we will go to the world premiere. But listen, I'm waiting for the Ravage virtual reality experience.
Oh,
that's going to be fun.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah.
So Art. So is this breaking news that there's going to be have you broke news on my channel that there's going to be a volume 2?
I think this is the first. Yeah, you got the exclusive. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, everybody. So how about that exclusive? That's a breaking exclusive with Art Thibert, black and white. It's going to be called. Well, you're calling it volume 2, and this is going to be all original content, right? This is.
Volume 2 is basically issue 3 of the original series that will be remastered as well with all brand new content to kind of round it out into the 48 pages. So we just added 6 new pages to remastered yesterday when we hit that 30K. So it's what is it, 54 or whatever the math is now, pages. And so yeah, we're going to remaster this. I'm thinking probably early next year we're going to do the volume 2. And then I do have another creator-owned idea that I did have some success with in the animation world, and is written as a screenplay, and it's called Chrono Mechanics.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, and they're time repairmen. I have Platinum Productions, Platinum Studios, that wants to partner in on it. I already have a Platinum writer that I worked with, and we crafted the screenplay, so it exists. There's 118 pages or something of a Chrono Mechanics movie script that we're shopping around. I'm with Circle of Confusion. They're the Wachowski brothers agent.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't know you were with them.
Oh, you just partnered with them?
No, I had a letter from them, though, a long time ago. We were talking about a project years and years ago. They're a great firm, man. Very cool. So you're signed with them, or you're doing a film project with them?
Yeah, I'm signed with them. I was early on with Dave Alpert. Yeah, and so yeah, we had some limited success with Chrono in the day when we released it through Image. Gosh, it was probably 12 years ago or so. And so we had a deal with Kids WB. I know that's also an old reference, but we signed a deal, a production deal. They optioned it. So one of the things about animation is if you're an artist, Mitch, if you sell something, what a lot of the animation companies want now is they want you to be involved with the development of the project or the property. And so we were brought in, and so we developed the Bible and the show with Kids WB, with Megan Casey, who's Joe Casey's wife, and they're also like the Mid of Action, you know, the Joe Kelly and gosh, Duncan Rouleau, all those guys. And so she was trumpeting this, and then Kids WB just folded up. And then they became just Cartoon Network. So all their assets and all their properties that they were developing at the time just kind of died. So I guess from what I hear, this happens a lot. Sometimes you'll have a producer or a production company that's behind it, and then if they get outed or ousted, fired, then the project kind of dies with them. And so that's what happened there. But it always gave me faith that that it could be done. And then we got a good agency behind us as well. So one of the things Taylor and I are doing right now is we are putting treatments together for properties. And so we're kind of doing this as a two-prong. We're doing the comics as the IPs, developing the comic books. And because that's where my love is. That's where our first love is. And so then we're also kind of chasing, we just call it the pipe dream. You know, like the Hollywood stuff is just like, it's just something to work towards, but I'm not putting a lot of faith in it, you know, because there's too many moving parts and it's too far out of my control. And that's why I like comics, because it's more in our control. So that's kind of the way we're looking at it, because I think I heard you, Mitch, say that you really, at this point in time, you don't really want to go back to like Marvel or DC. You want to stay in this this arena and create your own properties for as long as you can, as long as the market will sustain it, as long as the fan base will keep liking and digging what you're doing. And I feel exactly the same way. I want to stay here as long as we're welcome, you know, as long as it's feasible. And I'd like to make all these dreams come true, all these, you know, these properties. And you guys, not to put any pressure on you, but I'm not getting any younger. Let's do this.
It's time.
All of us are, man. None of us. Yeah, it is time now. Carpe diem. You know, everybody's wanting new content. The Disney streaming service. That was another big reason why I jumped in right when I did. If you look at all the market pressures that are occurring on the traditional ABC, CBS, the network shows. Nobody watches sitcoms anymore, right? It's all Netflix and Hulu, and I'm not kidding when I talk about augmented reality and virtual reality. I've been in projects that have utilized both, and that technology is 5 to 10 years away of being really mass deployed.
Hey, Ben, I don't know if you were listening, but when you said that, both Mitch and I went, ooh, when you said virtual reality. I mean, that's exciting stuff.
Go to Immersive Security when you get a chance. It's not anything to do with comic books or anything, but it's a project I worked on years ago. And so it was the start of a virtual grid that you could put on Glassix, and you're flying through, and you can get data in a visual way versus just, ingesting, hex or ingesting log files. So, you take that concept and you think of things like Google Glass, right, that project back to your retina, so you can almost have a heads-up display in your own eye, right? What's to say you can't take that and have a visual comic book in front of you that's just moving automatically based on your eye movement, and then it plays audio in your ear, right? Nobody else can hear it, but it's playing sound effects and audio and music as the comic's being read, or you're reading it or ingesting it, right? There's just tons of stuff in the future that's going to happen, and we're, as content creators, in a great spot to seize upon
it. I agree. Yeah, Ben gets it in a major way. So I had a super chat in here. Let me dig that back up. Antonio Malpica. I believe this is Critias of Detective Dead, if I'm not mistaken. So Circle of Confusion was one of my dream agencies. I sent them a query letter years ago. No luck. Well, keep trying. So Art, this chrono mechanics, I love the title of it. Is this something that you own entirely, or do you have the rights to the cartoon show, all this kind of stuff? Do you have the rights to this still?
Yeah, the thing is, when we negotiated, I still retained rights, so I still own the property. Thank goodness that it didn't get caught up in any of that kind of nonsense. So yeah, I still own it, and I'm still pushing. I think it would make a great big screen live action. So it's kind of transitioned from like more of a cartoon show idea, because it was kind of like, originally it was pitched as like H.G. Wells meets Looney Tunes, and it's about like knuckle busting repairmen that repair time, basically. So the idea is that time is literally a big machine, like like it was built into the fabric of time itself. And so when the world's formed and everything formed, it formed around that. So it regulated it. And so the idea, like I said, it's a broad idea. It's not anything to be taken seriously. That the machine is old, so it breaks down a lot. And so a corporation was formed, a repair corporation called Chrono Inc. And so Chrono Inc. is their responsibility is to make sure the machine is maintained and repaired when needed. Parts replaced, just like any kind of machine, a car, air conditioning, anything, that needs repairs. And so if you think about time, as being a big machine, and I always thought time, like most of the visuals for time throughout, like the visual medium, like films and comics and stuff, has always been gears and cogs and things like that. And that's a machine. That's a mechanism. And so I thought that, that's just kind of an extension of that idea, but in a bigger way. And so then the next idea is that there's quadrants, there's sectors that exist, kind of Green Lantern-ish. And so there's repair teams that police or repair these sectors. And so our story focuses on the best of the best, which is Sector 7. And so that's the 4 repair team, or the 4 individuals that become that repair team. And we focus on those characters as they go through time and repair the machine. And one of the things, just for the action adventure aspects and for the visual, is that the longer the machine takes to be repaired, the more things can go wrong. So timelines start merging, anomalies start happening, people disappear, people reappear, just all kinds of like if you think about it, like natural disasters. When we wrote the script, we thought of it as kind of a one of those disaster films almost. So the backdrop is definitely a disaster film if you think about it. So Timelines are merging. People out of time are merging with each other. So you could have like a dinosaur right next to a Spanish, warrior, or like a native Indian, next to like a future, I don't know, person, person of the future. All kinds of things can happen in it, and one of the things we have in this story is I love this idea that if time gets so out of control and all these timelines merge, they can't fix it. It can't be repaired. So they have this thing. It's called the Go Primal Protocol. So it means that they have to reboot time. Like time has to start all over again because they just couldn't fix it. So in lieu of time just disappearing, they have to reboot it. And so then we basically have to climb out of the primordial ooze once again.
That's
and
cool.
start life all over again. So that's always kind of the threat. Like that's always the tension for the mechanics. Like if they don't fix this thing, then this is the worst case scenario that could happen. So that's what Taylor and I would like to put out after Black and White. We'd like to do Chrono Mechanics again, get that back out there.
I love it. I think that's really cool. Are you thinking? Well, I mean, is this something you're going to draw yourself, or what's?
Yeah, I would like to, because there's another side of what I do. I cartoon. I do cartoon. I studied it. What happened? I'm not going to tell the whole story because it's just boring. But Marvel fired me some time ago, and they told me I would never be welcome there again.
Wow.
And you know what? I've never said this. So you got another exclusive.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And this was when I was doing all the Ultimate books, Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men, with Dave Finch and Mark Bagley. And I was winning all the awards that there were to win for that 3 or 4 years. So I was pretty high up on the food chain. And so they fired me. Like I said, I don't want to go into details, but I was devastated because it wasn't just that I was fired. They said I would never work there again. I had more years logged in at that point than most of those people that were firing me. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
Up to that point, I had 25 years invested in Marvel. In the heyday, we were making millions. We were selling millions of books for them. We were making millions and millions of dollars for them. I worked for Marvel when they went bankrupt. I signed an agreement that said if they, with the bankruptcy, that they don't have to pay me. I worked under that contract for 5 years, and then they fired me. Like, and I'm going off. I don't mean to go off. I don't want to tell that story. But the thing is, it forced me to rethink my career, kind of like where I'm at right now. That maybe the industry, the established industry, aren't our buddies, and maybe it's not the best thing to put all of our faith and all of our futures into these companies. And so when they did this, I came home, I punched a hole in the wall, and I picked myself up, and I said, you know what do I want to do? I want to develop. I want to do these IPs. I want to develop properties. I don't know how I'm going to do it or what avenue, or you know what I mean? If it's going to be film, if it's going to be cartoons, if it's going to be comic books. So the thing I know, of course, is comic books. So that's when I created Chrono Mechanics. And I spent a year, developing that and many other properties. I got an agent, like I said, and I stayed in animation and developing for about 2 years. And I basically funded all of that out of my pocket because, as well as I do, these are really iffy propositions. We've been really, really lucky, you guys. Like I said, you pioneered this platform. And that is amazing because that didn't exist before, because I have self-published. And if you can break even self-publishing, that's great. And that's what we did with Chrono. So I did that for 2 years, but then, I kind of had to start getting a steady paycheck again. So then Didito at DC had been asking me I started kind of getting back into cons and stuff. And so we went out to lunch at one of these shows. And then he said, well, you want to come back to comics? You want to come back to DC? And he actually upped my rate beyond what my Marvel rate was, which was higher than my DC rate at the time. And so he made it very easy for me to come back to comic books. And at the time, DC was, it's still a great place to work, but it was when DeDito first took over DC, it was a great place to work. I think he was one of the great, guys that helped resurrect that company, at least at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
so everybody's asking, what did you do to the poor editors at Marvel Comics?
Oh my gosh!
What did you do to them, Art? I must have been horrible.
I did nothing. Okay, I'm just going to say it in the most simplistic way as I can. Okay, Marvel's trying to save money. They wanted everybody to blue line because they could save money in shipping. And so since Hack Shack Studios, we were doing, at the time, we were putting out 4 to 6 books a month between me and my crew. And we worked for DC and Marvel at that time. And I don't know if you guys remember, but Ultimate Spider-Man was shipping almost twice a month. So it was on how many is that? 18 issues a year we were doing. Mark and I were doing 18 issues a year. And then Dave Finch and I were doing 12 issues a year. So that would probably destroy most weaker people. But we kept that schedule, as well as I think we were doing another book for Marvel, and then we were doing the Demon for DC at the time as well. So what they wanted to do is they wanted to use my studio as a template for this blue lining experiment. And so I know that I want to name names so bad. I want to throw some people under the bus, but I will not. I will not. And so they came to me and they said, we want to see if this will work. And so then, as a businessman, like any of us would say, what's in it for me? Okay, if I perfect this for you, I know you guys are going to save money in shipping, but what am I going to get out of it? And because I'm going to have to, because at the time, like, even high speed internet wasn't nationwide. I mean, I talked to Scott Hanna because I did do some research after this proposition, and Scott said, where I live, we don't even have like high speed internet, so it wasn't widespread, and Marvel didn't have tech support. They didn't have anything. So if I was going to do this, I was going to have to put a lot of time and effort to try to perfect this whole blue line experiment for Marvel. And I told this fellow, I said, you are going to save money. He goes, it's still unclear if we're going to save money. I go, you will save money. Shipping costs will go away immediately. You will save money. So don't BS me, man. And I said, if you're going to save money, and I'm going to put my neck on the line here, because I ask questions like, what is this going to do to the original art market? What is this going to do to resell? I sell my originals for a lot of money. It augments my my income every month. So if there's 2 originals, then what's that going to do? And that to this day is still debated in the original art collecting market. What is like original art? What isn't? If it's on Blue Line, some collectors think that it's not as worthy as some of this other stuff. And so I told him all my fears, all these ideas, and he didn't seem to really care. So I said, let me think about it. And then I called like Danny Mickey, I called Scott Hanna, I called all my inker friends, and I said, how do you feel about it? And each and every one of those guys said, no. So
no blue line?
Yeah, no blue line, no blue line. Also, it's kind of a bitch. It was at the time. It's a little bit better now, but it was a bitch to ink over blue line, because blue line's kind of like primering. It would primer the board. And so ink doesn't really stick to the board as well, because it's that blue line kind of seals it. So anyways, I hope I'm not boring anybody. But then, so I came back to him and I said, no dice. And so then my schedule started getting erratic and crazy. They were threatening to pull pages from me. They were making my life practically unbearable. And once again, to try to sum this up, what happened is they trumped up these charges, and they said that I was trying to woo talent over to DC Comics. Mainly, they were saying Mark Bagley and Dave Finch. And the only thing that they could hold on to is that I was going to go. It was a New York Comic Con, and I was going to go have lunch with DeDito and my editor. And Mark Bagley asked if he could tag along. This happens all the time in the industry, by the way, guys, at these conventions. You know, people just hang out. We go to dinner, have drinks, stuff like that. And sometimes it might be Marvel and DC guys combined. You know what I mean? This is not uncommon. And so the only thing that they could actually trump up on me is they said that I was trying to woo talent and bring Marvel talent over to DC. And they called me up. They fired me under those pretenses, under that pretense, and they fired me. And no matter what I said, it didn't work. I'll tell everybody right now, CB Chabalski is an evil little man. I will name names. He's an evil guy, and they fired me after 25 years working at that company for no real reason at all. They just had to come up with something because I feel I said no to a very, very powerful man at Marvel, and he couldn't handle the fact that I didn't do the blue line thing with him, and I didn't save Marvel money. And in turn, by standing up to that guy, I got fired. And that's my truth. That's how it all went down. So, yeah, man, Mitch, you're getting a lot of exclusives today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry that happened. I'm sorry that happened to you. We all knew he was. I'm sorry that happened to you after 25 years.
Yeah, that's the chat is well, they're popping popcorn and they're both thrilled and outraged. So you're getting a lot of sympathy here in the chat.
Well, I don't necessarily want that. I just that's how I got here. You know what I mean? I never look back at my life and go, "Oh my gosh, that just stunk out loud." I know that this is an adventure, this is a journey, and these things happen, the good and the bad. And possibly if those things didn't happen, I wouldn't be here right now. Maybe the industry wouldn't be here right now. So maybe this is all good, you know?
Right,
well, it depends on if the chrono mechanics have us in the appropriate timeline where everything goes our way, I suppose.
Well, they'll fix it if it doesn't. So
I hope so. Well, that's fascinating, Art. Well, thank you for sharing that on this broadcast. I hope everybody checks out Black and White Remastered on Indiegogo. Link is in the description. They're also throwing it in the chat here. So very, very Art, I don't know what to say, man. That's I think it's great. It's great that you told us about this, because there's this sort of desire, and you know, for younger artists or creators or whatever that have this aspirational idea that, you know, I want to go work for Marvel Comics or DC Comics and want to do my run on Wolverine or whatever it is. They have this great big grand vision. So I know I had it too. But it's important to remember that these companies are not, they're not always looking out for your best interests, and the winds change pretty quickly. You could even be a 25-year veteran like Art Thibert. It's just important to keep a perspective of your, keep a level head, keep your perspective, and keep your mind focused on what your own personal goals are, right? And to never think of this as like a long-term strategy. And it's great if it works out for you, and not saying it doesn't work out. But yeah, Antoine says, you guys remove those rose-colored glasses. I think it's just important to know what your own personal desires are, what you want to do, and try to make sure that your career is sustainable for the long term.
And that can change along the line, but also just kind of try to keep the power in your hands as much as possible, and always think like that these companies don't have your best interests, like Mitch said. So always, maybe this is where maybe I did play more chess than I thought in the early days. Maybe I did have more other places and other avenues to go, because I always had someplace else to go. I always had another dream. I always had another goal to move towards. So whether that was going to be Marvel or DC or this creator-owned arena that I'm in right now, you know, so I think it's important to always have maybe like Mitch said, and even Ben, that we had these ideas even when we were working in other places, and now, you know, those ideas never go away, and now we can manifest them here and hopefully control our destinies and be in control a little bit more so than like Mitch was saying, the winds of change. You know,
Yeah,
you
the editor that brought you on and loves you and knows your family. And says, I want to take care of you, and all, you know, this kind of stuff. He could, or he or she could leave in the next year or 2 years. There's a lot of turnover in this business. So, yeah. And then the person that replaces them doesn't know who you are, doesn't care about you, doesn't even like your art style, whatever the case may be. Things are going to change. So just keep a wide view. Keep a wide view of what is possible with your creative vision and your artistic career, your creative career. Lewis Michael, thank you for £5. Here's my big question for the day. I have a script, but how can I get Art interested in becoming the artist? He's my go-to choice for this project. I think Lewis.
There's a line. Yeah, signature, because there's a big long list, because Art and Mitch are going to be doing 10 of Cautionary Comics. So yeah, that's a rumor I'm trying to start.
Yeah, we're booked with Ben. Yeah, Ben's got us booked for the next 10 years.
That's right. Sorry.
Yeah. It's going to be hard to get Art because he has Black and White Remastered, then Volume 2, and then Chrono Mechanics, and sounds like maybe even more beyond that. So I just don't know. It's going to be Art. You're a tough get. What do you think?
Yeah, my partner just chimed in. She said, "Don't steal my partner." That's tag. That's tag in the chat. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. I'm here. I want to at least. I got probably 4 or 5 ideas. I want to give those a shot, and so hopefully, you know, we can get to that point where I can manifest that dream, and maybe at that point, I'll draw that guy's script, or I'll be working with Ben or Mitch or whoever. You know,
we'll see. We'll see. You never know what can happen. I think 2019 is going to be a banner year.
In 2021, I mean, we're all talking about 2020, but I think these collaborations are going to become much more prevalent and fun.
Yeah,
5 years.
Yeah, they seem inevitable at some point.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Freddie Primo, thank you for $2. Lots of cool stretch goals for Black and White. That's a great segue. So, Art, why don't you tell us about some of these stretch goals and tiers?
Okay.
Black and White, and give us the rundown on what happens at your campaign ends in 2 days.
2 days.
2 days. So get on this. I think things may change a little bit at the end of the campaign. So why don't you run us through the stretch goals, the tiers, and what happens in 2 days? Are you going to an in-demand store, and what changes?
Okay. Well, first off, thank you, Mitch, for giving me this platform. You guys are amazing. This is the most generous, like, people I've ever worked with, and the most generous fan base I've ever worked with. This is crazy. So thank you guys for getting us to this point. We're selling books like crazy right now as we're just talking. So we're at 31,511. And 590 backers. 590 backers is the number that really turns me on. To steal that from Doug Tenapel or Tenapel. He always say those are the numbers that really turn me on. So yeah, like you said, Mitch, we got 2 days. So Sunday, late Sunday, we're maxing this out, and so at 30K, which we just met. It was a milestone for Taylor and I. So the milestone was at 30K, we were going to be able to add new pages, and these will be brand new pages. There were already brand new pages in the 48, but these will be 6 absolutely new pages. And the reason we wanted that so badly is because when we were rewriting this, we realized there's a lot of backstory and there's a lot of things that we could elaborate on that would make the story better. So, but we had to kind of make it a 30K stretch goal because, as you guys know as well as I do, to take the time to draw and to devote this kind of time, you need money. So the 30K allowed us to do that. And so I'm so thankful that we got to that point. And also at the 30K, like I said, you get the 6 new pages, but we also are having a giveaway. So I am going to give a piece of artwork that I held on to for 25 years. And my dear friend Greg Capullo did this for me way back when. And so I remastered it recently. I didn't even know I owned it. I was just going through the archives and I found it. And I thought it would be fun to dust it off and to make it part of this this campaign. So it is as a variant. It's completely remastered and recolored, but we're just giving the artwork away. We're just we're gonna have a drawing later today. I probably should come up with a time. Hey Taylor, can you? She's in the room with me. What time do you think we should do this drawing live on our YouTube? We have Jeff. We're keeping a schedule. So it'll probably, maybe around 2, 3? Yeah, somewhere between 2 and 3 o'clock. We're going to have a live drawing, and some lucky black and white fan will win that cover artwork. And then as a runner-up, and you guys have my wife to thank about this, she is so sweet and always so fair-minded. She's also the co-writer on the original series and our editor on this book. We have a page that did not make the remastering cut, and it's page 1 of issue 2 of the original run. And it's a splash page of Reed and Whitney in peril. And if you go to my YouTube, not YouTube, but if you go to my Indiegogo page, you can see it. It's there, the artwork. And we are going to be drawing names, like we said, between 2 and 3 o'clock today on YouTube Live. Who's going to win those pages. And so we have, as far as tiers, we have our featured tier, which is the graphic novel plus a 16-page ash can. And that 16-page ash can is a backup story that I did in '94 with Image and Extreme Studios. So Rob Liefeld's Extreme Studios, Rob was gracious enough to let me do a promotional story in all of his Extreme books. So in Supreme, Team Youngblood, Prophet, I forget the other books, Bloodstrike. There were 2 pages in a little backup feature in the backs of the book. And we also had a nine cover, like we had the back cover, and there were 9 images. And when you put them together, it makes one big image, big poster print kind of thing. So he was nice enough to do that for us, Rob was. And so we're going to feature that. It's not going to be remastered. It's going to be in its original state as a 16-page ash can. That's in the featured tier. And so we have that. And then, like I said, we have the Greg Capullo variant, and that's completely remastered. And one that doesn't get a lot of attention is the sketch tier, where I'll be doing not just one head sketch, but both of the characters on the front inside cover.
Wow.
Yeah, as a tier. And I'm going to, I have a rough of it I did yesterday on the live stream, and I'll tighten it up today on the YouTube live stream. So you'll get an idea of what the sketch will look like. And I'll be doing that later today. And then we have, what is it? It's the 70s collector pack, and the 70s collector pack is all the licensing stuff that we had in the 90s. So we had a trading card set that we're going to have one of the featured trading cards that we're going to have in that tier. Pogs, which is so 90s, actually Pogs. So we had a licensing deal with the Pogs manufacturer. So we have I have a limited amount of Pogs left and Pog Slammers, and so I have that. And then in that tier, we're going to have the 90s ash can, the original ash can. There's 2 ash cans in this campaign. There's the original 90s ash can that was a promotional that Image put out, and actually, once again, Nick Barucci's Dynamic Forces were the sponsors behind that, and so that's going to be available. And then the original issue 1 and issue 2 from '94 are going to be in that 90s collector's pack. So that's the one that I'm really excited about, because it's kind of the most nostalgic tier that we have. And then we have, original art, and then we also have Can You Take a Punch? So the Can You Take a Punch is you'll be drawn in to the comic book, and Whitney Sung, aka White, will basically backhand you in the face.
Nice.
It's a pretty big image, and also it's the appearance is over 2 issues, and I think it's 4 panels. So it's not just one shot that will be you. It will be 4 panels over 2 pages. Yeah, so you'll get punched by the main character. So
Oh, great.
yeah, so
Great.
that's kind of it. Yeah.
So 2 days left on all those exciting tiers and stretch goals. So what happens at the end of 2 days? Are you going to leave them all up as an in-demand store, or do you have any? Have you worked that out yet? I didn't figure mine out really until the last few like day or two.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, sorry to interrupt. I'm gonna have to jump, but
Okay.
Mark, congratulations, buddy.
Hey, thank you so much, Ben, and continued success, my friend.
Thanks you.
Thanks for co-hosting, Ben. Appreciate it.
Sure thing, bud. See y'all later. Thanks, chat. Bye.
God, Ben is awesome.
Yeah,
This
he's
is so
great.
cool. I think my partner and I, Taylor and I, are probably going to talk about this at lunch today.
Okay.
So we may be announcing it later. So like you said, you waited till like the end, because actually we were rallying on EVS's stream, I think, for Red Robin, or I'm sorry,
Red Rooster.
Red Rooster, and so I think it was kind of news to me when it turned over into In Demand. I think it did live on his stream. So yeah, I didn't know that you had done that until that had happened. So did you announce it prior?
I can't. It's all a blur at this point. I can't remember.
Yeah, because
I can't remember.
Yeah, because I'm from the Kickstarter world, and when Kickstarter is up, it's up. So when it's fun, there's no in demand, there's none of that. So when we were rallying for Red Rooster, I just remember when it flipped over into the in demand, I was like, wait a minute, that's a thing? Like you can do that? And then I just remembered that your numbers kept going up after that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking there definitely is a benefit to keeping it in demand, because you kind of build a rally, like you're building kind of a desire for it. And some people might be coming in a little later. So you don't want to close it off to them. And the in-demand store allows you to keep it going.
Well, tell you what I did, and maybe this can help light a fire in some of the chat. There might be fence sitters, although I bet they're not. So what we did on Red Rooster was we removed most of the tier packages. A lot of the special stuff went away. So that made the campaign backers, if you back during the campaign, it made you got more options, you got more special stuff. And at the end, now we just have, a couple of tiers left. One is the, where you can get the book, which I think still comes with a trading card and a sticker. And that's the regular package. And then we're going to have we have the head sketch tier, which is $100, and that comes with the head sketch in the book, and this, of course, signed books and everything in the $35 package, plus I think it's a poster, our pinup poster of Falcon Girl, and the head sketch inside the book of the Red Rooster. So, and then everything else got removed, although I still have the original art up for sale, which I think I might, once the colored pages start rolling off, because with the original art, you get the original page of your selection in order of backers. So you either get the page in sequence of your backing, or we're going to offer you sort of the option of the page of your choice. Plus, you'll get a print of the Elizabeth's colors. So it'll be a high quality gallery art style print.
I like that.
Matches that page.
Yeah, when you guys were making that available, I was listening in. That is really cool, with the original colors.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a little while. Like Elizabeth, we bought a really nice Epson 13x19 printer, and it's an extraordinary printer. I wish Ben was still here, because we just sent Ben some prints, and he called me like as soon as he got it. He's like, "Oh, the quality of these prints is amazing, dude." Yeah, you know how Ben is.
Yeah,
these are great. So yeah, he was really impressed with the quality of the prints, and they are really, really great. He said the paper quality was amazing, and he's going to get his done this way. And So yeah, it is really, really great quality. So for those interested in original art, it's a steep price point for original art, but you also get all this other stuff with it. You get the gallery quality. It's one of a kind. There won't be another one printed, and that'll be signed by Elizabeth and all this other stuff, right? So you're helping fund obviously an operation that we're trying to launch here. So I missed a super chat from Antonio Malpica. Once again, I think that's Critias of Detective Dead. He says, wait a second, Art, you promised me a crossover after my crossover with Red Rooster. I won't stand by this. So another bold claim of they're staking their claim on you, Art.
Well, it's always good when people want to work with you, right? It's never a good thing when you throw something out there and nobody responds. So this is all good. And you know what, Antonio, I never say never, right? All these things can happen. And just to back up a little bit what you were saying, Mitch, I think that's probably what made your campaign so special as well, because the original campaign was for the duration, and so all those perks and all those extras were part of that campaign. And then when it goes into the store, to delineate between the two ideas, the original campaign has the stretch goals and all those things available, but then in the in-demand, it's more of a bare bones kind of camp. I don't even know if it's a campaign at that point. It's just kind of a store.
It's just a storefront, really. And the reason I did that is because I still have a lot of pages. I have a ton of pages to draw. So I thought as the pages as I was able to, I'm not in promotion mode anymore, but I'm in business mode and work mode. So, but I will, take some shots of the pages and show the colors, and maybe we'll show some of the prints and some of the products as they come in. And as people see them, then they're going to be like, well, okay, well, I was on the fence before, but now that I'm seeing the pages and how they look great and the colors look great, and it starts to look real, then it's like, well, okay, well, I'll jump on board now that it's totally real. So I figured, it's great. It's great. I'm really, really, really pleased with Indiegogo and their system. My interactions with the Indiegogo people have been all very positive. And I had no hiccups in my campaign that I can think of. So all in all, a great experience on Indiegogo, and I love that the in-demand store can stay up.
Yeah,
and we've definitely sold a lot of books, We've sold a lot of books since the campaign is closed.
Oh, you're on fire still. Gosh, you are definitely the high bar, my friend. That you are something for us to shoot for.
Oh, well, thank you. I do appreciate that. So the link is in the chat for Black and White Remastered. They've just updated us at $31,624. Thank you, Rainbolt. And Mr. Thundaro has added the link in the chat. Yeah, and Rodwell has added the link. So the links are flying like crazy. Go check out Black and White Remastered. You've heard the great stories of Art Thibert today. Help fund this book so we can get a Black and White Volume 2, and then on to Chrono Mechanics, which sounds really exciting. I want to hear more about this. I'm gonna have to call you later once you have some time after your campaign is over. I want to hear more about Chrono Mechanics too. Very, very interesting stuff. So, Art, I think I'm going to wind this chat down, if that's all right with you.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate any time that all this time that you've given me, Mitch. This is the most generous group of people I think I've ever worked with. You guys are all great guys. I say this like it's a super, like you're one of the good guys, in this industry. So yeah, thanks for giving me this platform to spew my love for my Black and White comic.
Oh, spew that love all over the place.
Spew it.
Everybody, spew it all over Black and White on Indiegogo.com. Link is in the description. Link is in the chat. Hit that thumbs up button. Hit the subscribe button. Thank you, Art, for joining us today and giving us a couple of exclusives.
Yes.
So if you missed those, you're going to want to go back and rewatch this show. Thank you, Chad, for putting up with us and for hanging out. We had a big group here today. and I think we moved some copies of Black and White. Art is going to be going live, right, on your own channel. What's your channel, Art?
It's my name, just Art Thibert, YouTube. Yeah.
Okay, Art Thibert, YouTube. They're going to be giving away. You're going to give away art today. Is that?
Yeah, we're going to give away the art live between 2 and 3 today. We'll let you know as we're going to go to lunch and do a powwow, and we'll figure all this stuff out at lunch, and then we'll be announcing that at that point. But it will be between 2 and 3 o'clock that we're going to do that, and I'm going to draw some on the stream as well.
Okay, great. So I'm going to close this out. Everybody, go grab a nice lunch and then come back and watch Art draw and win some cool art and learn more about Black and White. Thank you, Art, for joining us. Thank you, everybody. We are out of here. If I can figure out how to turn this thing off. Okay, here we go. Boomer out.